An age ago, the beating heart of our people was a king who knew only victory. He wanted nothing more than an honorable death on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
Welcome to StreamYard, where all the buttons are suggestions, and you never know what's going to happen when you hit something. But welcome. This is a comic book team up, the Wednesday show with RJ for the Fourth Age and myself, John's Longbox. So if you're watching this on my channel, go on over and subscribe to the Fourth Age, where you'll actually get intelligent stuff. And if you're on RJ stuff and you just want to rot your brain, come and subscribe to my channel, John's Longbox.
John is a great channel, everybody. Just go subscribe.
First off, I want to say we will not be talking about the quartering or any of this nonsense. My emails have been, not emails, but my direct messages all week long. You can talk about, I don't care. I honestly don't care. I had enough of drama in the past 2 years. I want to talk about comic books and nonsense. So that's why I stream, to get away from drama. Second off, RJ, your Saturday lecture, or your sermon, as I like to call it, when you talked about the Eternal Now, oh my God, that blew me away. I really, really enjoyed that. That was a cool thing to think about.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I had to bring it up just because it's all about the will. I've been trying to get, excuse me, a little bit dumbed down video here and there, just every once in a while, and I just haven't been able to because it's what I think about during the week, right?
Broadcast my stuff for a dumbed down video.
Oh well.
So
everybody's talking about the Odyssey, but we talked about the Odyssey last week, and we covered everything. So
And honestly, the more I hear about it, the more I think it's just, what's his name? Why can't I think of the director's name now? Nolan. I think it's just him, Oscar bait. He's following all the rules to get it to Best Picture. You know what I mean? Diversity, and 30% of the people are minority, blah, 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 blah. So I think he's just like, you know what, here, this one, I'm tossing this one out there for an Oscar, and, they'll probably just give it to him, Why
I'll
not?
say it again. I think I said it before, but I used to watch movies with people in the we'll say late 80s, early 90s, and we'd watch like 70s movies, on VHS, and they'd be all like, "Oh, movies have gotten so much better since these crappy movies came out in the 70s." And I was like, no, 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 no. There was just a whole lot of crappy movies at one time in the 70s. Before that, there was plenty of good movies. I think we're in that lull right now where people will not remember these times and these movies as anything but, oh, movies, they've come so far. And you'd have to remind them, no, no, movies used to be really great. You just had crap for 20 years.
I also think, well, there was a lot of crap in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, too. There was so much crap. But somebody said something on Twitter that really made me think that people always made something because like they had a dream or they wanted to make money, and they had to produce. But I really do think like people got infected with a message, and they're not making a movie with like, this is the story I'm dying to tell, or this is this we got to bail the studio out. So I think that's one of the problems. I don't know. Am I speaking the obvious? But
Yeah, well, I think it's true. It's like you think about Terminator. It was just a low budget film that they just cranked out. James Cameron trying to produce something that would make him a little bit of money. And it just became this gigantic thing. It's because, they had an actual motivation to do something and they put their heart and soul into it because they wanted to make money. And they knew it wasn't the best thing in the world. And look what happened to it.
Well, I'm not a big expert on that, but I'm gonna guess that when they made Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, James Cameron probably had a lot of control. And Terminator 3 and past, I bet you the studio controlled it. Because look at the best movies. It's usually the smallest group. And when I say the smallest group, I'm talking about the creative control people, because movies require hundreds of people to make. But like Star Wars, it was George Lucas, and why can't I think of the other guy, and even Lucas's wife who was editing it. It was like 3 people, really spearheaded that movie. Look at all of why can't I think of the guy's name? Stanley Kubrick. That guy was a tyrant. Alfred Hitchcock. The studios never told him what to do. He did what he wanted. From that my favorite episode of Parks and Recreation, where they're talking about the painting, and they said that the camel, a camel is a horse created by committee. And I think that's so true. When you have so many other people with equal say into what you get done, it turns into nonsense. Like we have a general foreman, and what he says goes on my job, and we all say our piece. Now I think we should do. No, general foreman lays down the rule, and we build, and then the building gets built. Can you imagine? I'm not joking. I'm on a job right now where there's 100 electricians. Can you imagine if we did whatever wiring we felt like doing? It would, the place would burn down. We're all competent, but nobody would know what the other guy's doing. The wires would go here, the circuit. You need a monarch, one eye. That's what monarch means, one vision.
I agree. Let's just look at the Image guys, because they put their heart and soul into Image Comics. They were working on them day and night, but they didn't have someone to direct them, and eventually it just didn't pan out as it should have with that kind of talent.
They had that was a bunch of Image Comics. I think it was a bunch of guys with more what's the word, talent than smarts, if that makes sense. Like they had a lot of ambition, a lot of enthusiasm, but they didn't have that old school workhorse mentality. Like they were putting out a comic once a month sometimes. They would make their money doing the comic conventions. So why they didn't have that old school Jack Kirby, I'm going to produce a page a day kind of work ethic. Why couldn't I think of the word? Image, and then Jim Shooter and Tom DeFalco, they clamped down. They had a house style. They had they had rules to have to follow. And I still say Marvel peaked under Jim Shooter. Oh, I'll say this: we're streaming also on Rumble. So if you go to John's Longbox on Rumble and subscribe, you'll help me out. I think I have 22 subscribers. Yay, I'm making it. And we'll say hello to the chat, and then we'll talk about whatever we feel like talking about. Vaz is here. How you doing, Vaz? Oh, this guy's stalking me again. When are you going to learn?
I'm the original John fanboy. Just anybody, in the future, 20 years in the future, when John is a giant name, I'm the original John fanboy. I beat you all out now.
I if if I ever make it, I'm taking my friends with me, because what good is what good is it? You know what I mean? If unless you got your friends with you. Like, I always have that childhood dream of when I win the lottery, I'm buying a block and all my friends are living on my block. I'm 57 years old. I still daydream about that. Like, I joke that I'm not joking. I'm serious, but I know it'll never happen. But if I make $100,000 on any one of my comic book campaigns, I'm flying all my friends so we can have a weekend together. You know what I mean? So you have it.
I say, okay, Chad, here's my visual image of what John just said. I don't believe him. I think that if John won the lottery, he'd buy a brownstone, and I can see him doing loops in the ceiling like a Daredevil, with the rings and stuff.
Yeah, that's because you know me. I love to exercise. Yep, Baz. Yes, today was absolutely beautiful. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the fall. I love the spring when it's actually spring. Not that fake spring where it's still cold. We got Rec Blazer over here. How you doing? Here we go. We got my comic over here on Heroic Tales 2. I'm working on the Heroic Tales Christmas special. It's going to be launching sooner rather than later. I don't want to give a hard date yet. I think I'm waiting for 2 more pages to get colored, and then we could launch it. Don't forget, you can also get Crom the Destroyer. I know that trailer says Indiegogo, but it's really at whatchamacallit, Fund My Comic. Geez, this is gonna be a fun talk. I'm already got brain fog. 12-hour days. It's taking.
John's receiving a little too many shocks to the system these days.
It's funny that you said that, because just yesterday we were talking that I got one shock when I was a first-year apprentice, and I've never been shocked again. Whereas guy I was working with was like, really, I've been hospitalized with 4,000 volts. I was like, that explains a lot. But yeah, that's one thing I don't do. I'm a goofball, but one thing I when I'm working with wires, it's pretty freaking scary. How you doing, Zach 10? I hope you're having a blessed day too. I'm having a blessed. I had a stressful day, but it's a blessed day. Remember to like both streams. Yes, for those of you who are keeping count, we're streaming right now on Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, and then RJ's streaming on his YouTube channel too. You can hear us both. Good. Unfortunately, you could see one of us. That's me. I honestly don't know the first thing about. Yeah, I don't know. I want to chat about the Kickstarter Exodus. Oh yeah, Kickstarter is they're not letting adult content. Now I'm of torn opinions by that. Do you know what this Divinity Comics is talking about?
I don't know. No.
Yeah, Kickstarter just started a new policy that they're not going to do like adult comics anymore. So no booby comics, no not safe for work comics. Now
that just kills almost their entire comic section.
Right. That shoot themselves in the foot, if you ask me. Now I'm a free speech guy. I'm also not a prude. So I mean, if you want to make booby comics, that's fine. Matter of fact, I buy 2 regularly right now, but I know that they're adult comics. I know what I'm getting when I get them. But I also feel like, low common fruit is just like making Star Wars and then putting boobs on it and selling Star Wars. I mean, honestly, but if you want to make that, and Kickstarter if you want to sell it stuff. But I think this is going to cause problems, because what's the line? What's the line you want to cross? Like I got sexy women, Renzo. You can't tell him not to draw a sexy woman. So is Kickstarter just going to stop my campaigns even though there's no nudity in my comics? So I'm anticipating a lot of that. So yeah. So there you go. I appreciate that. Get rid, cancel about the drama. I just don't care about all this drama. I had drama for 2 years. I'm done with it. Also, thanks for the mention the last video, RJ.
No problem, Rex.
What's up, John? Never got to have our chat. We were going to have a chat. Divinity Comics. I honestly don't remember. I apologize. I can't remember what I did yesterday. Funny thing, I don't think there's any Greek actors in the new Odyssey movie. I'm of the same opinion of the quartering. I don't care anymore. I talked about it. I said by saying that this movie is is Oscar bait. That's really all it is. It's just a not Graham Nolan. Graham Nolan's the comic book creator. What's this director's name? Christopher Nolan, is that his name? This is just him. Like, I'm gonna suck up to the Academy, give them exactly what they want, and they're gonna give me. And I bet you, I'm predicting now, he's gonna get the Best Picture Oscar. The movie's gonna bomb, and he's gonna get the Best Picture Oscar. Oh, he's doing some malicious compliance. I don't know. At this point, what that woman who's playing Helen of Troy is playing Cassandra also, so he's getting the same. I mean, I think she's a good-looking woman, but she's not Helen of Troy. Hey, Oscar's here. Oscar Carreno is the colorist for my comic that I'm working on right now. He just submitted some great pages. He's actually going to be drawing one of my stuff. I'm writing a story for Oscar right now. A superhero team. From what I heard, James Cameron came up with the Terminator after a dream he had with the skeleton walking out of a fire. Yeah, and also reading Harlan Ellison, right? He ended up getting sued for plagiarism. How many of woke movie makers are true believers or cloud chasers? Yeah, I mean,
6 one, half dozen another. You stay there too long chasing clout in that way, you become a true believer, I'd say.
I wonder how many of them just pay lip service to the message as critical drinking just to have a career, because there's a lot of guys in my field that just says whatever the party says just to keep working, but they honestly don't believe
let me put my 2 cents in here. When I was doing my master's, I did some minors in public administration. So you basically study how government works extra, the voting system. So most people, and we always were told that most people get into government jobs thinking I'm going to change the government, and 99.9% of the time it's the government that changes them, and they just get consumed by this blob thing that then takes them over. So I would say it's probably the same with many other things, and Hollywood would probably be one of those. Conformity is the message. Just look at Mel Gibson and how much they torture him because he won't conform.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been a pro-police person for the longest time, and I still am pro-police. I was actually defending the police to my apprentice the other day. She's young. But at the same time, I see her point. Like, a lot of these people go in, they want to protect their community. All this, I want to go in and beat up people. I don't think that is true. And of course, I'm not stupid. There are probably people who want to be brutes and become police so they can, abuse the power. But I'll probably say that's the small majority. But just imagine you're 12 years in and you're like, I got 8 more years. I can retire. I have a house. I have kids. I have a kid going to college. And now the police are telling you to do ignore these shoplifters. And you're like, oh man, like the police in England, are they that evil that they're going around arrested Christians for preaching and ignoring the Muslims? What did you call it? Just compliance? Like, are they just like, just 6 more months and I'm out of here kind of thing? That's
a weird thing about Canada, John. I don't know if it like, I know that I wouldn't say no. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't work this way in the States. But for like in Canada, for the RCMP, you're not allowed to actually be an officer where you grew up or where you lived.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have to ship you off to someplace else in the country where you're completely unknown and unknown to the people. And it's weird because it's the same with kind of the same with priests. Too, for like Catholic priests, they ship them around. Like for a lot of American priests, they become a priest for their parish where they grew up, and they're going to stay there. But no, in Canada they ship them all around, so they don't get comfortable in one place. And it's the same with a lot of different things here in Canada. It's kind of weird, but I don't know. Wouldn't say it works out.
You think if you were a cop or a priest or anybody or a school teacher in your own neighborhood, it would help you. You'd want it to succeed more. I think, and let the cancellation process begin. I think getting immigrants from other countries, especially non-Western countries, and making them police is a real bad idea. You gotta have people that I think grew up in your country to be policemen of your country. And I think, New York now is just recruiting all of these people who are born in Pakistan to become cops, because let's face it, nobody in their right mind wants to become a police officer. I took the police officer's test. I got a high score, and I always leave out my ethnicity because being a white guy is always detrimental. So I never fill it in. And then with my last name, B-U-A, Bua, they always guess my ethnicity. So when I went down, I passed, and I went down with all these Asians. So I guess they figured it was an Asian name or whatever. And I was actually taking the psychological test. And after the test, I closed my portfolio. I didn't want to become a cop. And I'm talking like I was 19, 20 at the time. I could have been retired, but I was just like, I didn't think this through. And can you imagine how tough it is to be a cop now? Again, any police watching this, I respect you guys, but I also understand the pressures you guys are on. And I also understand you don't want to risk. You got a pension, you got kids, you got a house, Luckily, nobody really ever asks me to do anything that's morally wrong as an electrician.
Funny thing is, John, though, that a lot of people don't know that you want to join the military, well, U.S. military. If you're not a citizen, you can volunteer and join the military and serve your time, and you'll get citizenship for serving the time in the American military, even though you're not American.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That I don't really disagree with. I think being in the military, you probably get it, hammered into you, especially now. I think the military course corrected.
Well, you get stripped of individuality. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim was a good friend of Harlan Ellison. I didn't know that. Okay. You still sued him. Good evening. How you doing? Ben Savard, voice actors. I'm just going down. I don't want to. Oh, we got a super chat here. Jim was a good friend of mine. Jim Cameron was a friend of yours. My friend Jimmy is Jim Cameron's cameraman on the Avatar movies now. So that $1.50 gets me a cup of coffee. Hello, it's been Manny. I haven't seen your name in a long time. Oh, we got a super chat. This is over on your channel. This is Tim Bailey for you, RJ. If you want to read it, then
Thank you very much. Hey, RJ, I noticed a weird correlation between creative people and train sitting. Like 1 out of 10 or 20, they're not even. I don't know. I have no idea where you're going with this. Brianna Wu type hack frauds. They're actually talented. Any ideas? Sorry, Bailey. You're going to have to give me a little more information because I'm not sure what your question is asking for. But there is a weird.
I think he's saying in the creative community, whatever that may be, there seems to be a lot of people who transition, transgenders. And, I don't know what you mean by Brianna Wu. I just know Brianna Wu is the conservative one. That's the transition person. Actually looks like a woman, and understands he is still biologically a man, even though he looks and dresses like a woman. Like it seems, for as far as a transgender person goes, the person got a head on his shoulder. But I don't understand either. Like
I'd say, well, like my mind wasn't going in that direction. Sorry, my mind doesn't go in that direction, Bailey. But my guess would be upon if John is correct. Let's see. My guess would be the fact that if you're doing something creative, and especially if it's something that's extrovert anchored, so not like John and I were writers, but let's say you're an actor or a musician or something like that, you're looking for outside validation. If you're looking for outside validation, you have a very weak sense of internal self, and you place your value on what other people think. And since it's become really, really trendy to do this stuff in our society and you get accolades for it, they're just looking for a new source of supply for their praise and adulation. How's that?
I agree. How many times you hear these actors are really shy in real life and stuff like that? You think an actor would be the most introverted guy, but I do think actors are like, we just want attention, So yeah, maybe you're right. And if you want attention so bad you're going to mutilate your genitals, then I don't know what to say. There's better ways to get attention. How about you cure cancer or write a good book or draw something?
There's a story that's told between when it was Marathon Man, I think it was so Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman. They were just basically doing one of the final scenes where he tortures Dustin Hoffman, right? And so Dustin Hoffman has to and he's basically a method actor. So he puts himself through hell in order to look like he's being tortured. And he's sitting there talking to Laurence Olivier, and he says, why do we do this? And Laurence Olivier puts himself right up to his face and goes, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. This is why we do it.
Right.
Because they want people to look at them.
Right. We want the attention.
Yep.
Yeah. Rex Blazer says he hears the Kickstarter thing is more because they're being forced to. That would make sense, because this seems like Kickstarter is shooting himself in the foot, you know. And as long as it's clearly marked adult content or whatever, you know, kids don't crowdfund comics. You know, as much as we want kids to read comics, right now, I'm not doing anything to get kids to read comics. You know, kids aren't going to go crowdfund, use a credit card, buy my comic, wait 3 or 4 months. You know what I mean? I'm hoping sooner or later down the road I can get my comics in a comic book store. That, you know, is a different story. But I don't know what Kickstarter's doing. You're probably right. No booby comics. Boo. Oh, don't talk. Oh, okay. Now I know who you are. Okay. Don't talk crap about Starhorn. Okay. Yeah, I remember you now. Okay. Payment processors. Oh, the payment processors are forcing them to do it? Is that what you're saying? Okay. That makes sense. I have a book about a purple penis eater. I do. That's news to me. Oh, you're Mike Wheeler. Okay. Joking. Okay. I was like, what are you listening to EVS's lies? Just so you know, most independent comic have done sexy parodies of Star Wars. It's not a, yeah. Low-hanging fruit. I think a Star Wars point because it's really funny and good. Okay. I'm not arguing that. I just think it's low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Shipping people around is how it's supposed to be done in the military. Pretty sure cops and sheriffs can be local. I think cops, I don't know. I just imagine it's funny how we're on a time lag for the I think it's just maybe I'm naive, but I think if you were a cop in the town that you grew up in, you'd have like an emotional investment in making it a better place. I don't see the benefit. I mean, yeah, people move if they want to, but I don't see how shipping people around makes sense to me. Maybe, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty pro police, but I'm also not ignorant. I know that there's problems, but I think 100% most of the problems that the police officers faced are because of judges. You know, we had this guy breaking into our truck every night and stealing all the power tools. He was a crackhead. You would get $20 for the power, and we kept having to replace them, and he would, you know, drill through the wall, you know, whatever we did, this guy. So he was arrested 60 times. We were on this job for 3 years. The same guy was arrested 60 times stealing our stuff. The police came and they just like, how many times are we going to arrest this guy? Like, the police got him. They knew where we lived. He lived in you know, in this crack place. They knew. They went and got him every time. He goes, but he was out 2 or 3 hours later. So the cop basically told us, do what you guys got to do. You're not going to get arrested. And I'll tell you, the next day, we didn't go to the job site. We went someplace else, and it was the most fun I've ever had getting paid. And I'll also say this: that guy never stole from us again. You know, but that's what, you know. The cops, they were embarrassed. They were ashamed. You know, Garfield, how you doing, Garfield? Good to see you. Personally,
there's a good. Well, I hate to interrupt Rex, but John, that would be a good. Let's just say story for Chuck to do. It's like, you know, the kind of Punisher kind of story about frustrated cops. That'd be a good Chuck story.
It's funny that you said that, because I pitched him my vigilante character that is dealing with judges and things like that. And Chuck says, I love this idea, John. He goes, but I got my own vigilante characters. And that's when he said something that completely surprised me. What else you got? And I was like, I just thought up a vigilante character, and I was just like, well, I wonder what Chuck's page rate is. You know, he would write the hell out of this. And he's like, I don't want any more vigilante. He's like, I got 3 different vigilante characters. I'm doing the Horseman. He goes, all my vigilante guys' ideas and work is going into my stuff. So then I pitched him a Western, and he was just like, I got 3 Westerns. What else you got? I'm like, oh my God, he's being real. So I pitched him the sci-fi story just as a last resort. And then I didn't hear from him. And the next day, I was about to type. I'm like, so I guess he didn't like that. The next day, he sent me 6 pages already started. He goes, I love this idea so much. He goes, I hope you don't mind. I already started. I was like, oh, well, what do I owe you? Maybe I can't afford it. You know what I mean? And we worked out something really good, and me and Chuck are writing the story together. But it all started.
Talking Chuck Dixon. Anybody who wants to know, we're talking Chuck Dixon here.
Yeah,
John is working with Chuck Dixon.
Yeah, I'm working with Chuck Dixon. Renzo's going to draw it, and I'm hoping to be done. And it's funny because my policy is, and Oscar will back you up, is I don't bother anybody I'm working with. On Fridays, I just go down the list. Everybody I'm working with, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? And Chuck just replies, I'm shaking the bush, boss. And I just think it's funny. Chuck Dixon is I'm telling him to hurry. I'm not telling him to hurry up, but you know what I mean? I can't believe how odd my situation is. Chuck Dixon's like, I'm shaking the bush, boss. Pages are getting done.
Oh, geez.
What a strange. And I owe this all to you, RJ. So yeah, all kidding aside, you were the one that, for whatever strange reason, you reached out to me and gave me, put me on a platform. I had like 86 followers subscribers when you started talking.
The fact that Chuck is using the Cool Hand Look line to get you ready.
Personally,
that's
he is Rex Blazer. Personally, in terms of what I'm okay with, making stuff that's suggestive, but now with posting so that's everybody. Everybody has the right to make whatever they want, respecting IP limits and respecting whatever, that's fine. Again, I'm not a prude. RJ will tell you some of the. I told him some of these comics that I read that were just beyond the pale, and I ended up stopped because they were too far even for me. Like Love and Rockets right now. I feel like that's crossing the line. I don't know. True. Hey, Tony Grigo's here. What are your thoughts on Jack Kirby getting a street named after him? That is so cool. Right? Is it Delancey Street? Because isn't Delancey Street supposed to be Yancey Street? Or is it the street that he actually grew up on? But that's great. Cool. Unfortunately, it has to be under the communist mayor, so it'll be on fire soon. And they'll probably AIDS-infested needles all over where Jack Kirby grew up. But, let's be hopeful that the city cleans itself up soon. But, yeah, that's great. I got to go. I'm so mad because I've been working so much. I haven't been paying attention to the news. And then my wife comes home and starts telling me about all the horrible things for the day. And I'm like, please don't tell me any of this, and then I just saw on the news that there was people dressed up as the Thing. And oh man, I should have went, but I didn't know. That's what I get for avoiding the news. Ben Samar, voice actor. I worked with a bunch of retired New York City police officers at my old job. I heard some crazy stories. Yeah. You want talk to a doctor, talk to a cop if you want to hear the most insane stories. Chuck is a very busy man. He's always writing a script. Yes, he's a great guy. I love Chuck. He's such a fun guy. I don't know. I could gush about Chuck Dixon all day long. He's such a cool guy. If I made something explicit, I'd just keep it private or show it to close friends. I'm not going to lie. I have an R-rated vampire story that's going to be, when I say graphic, I mean gory, and there's going to be nudity in it, but I think it fits and I'm going to make sure that people understand that it is, you know what I mean? But there's a time and a place for everything, and whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah, gas prices are going to continue to surge. Tell me about it. I drive an hour to work, and I drive an hour home to work every day. I'm spending like $200 a week on gas. Please, Trump, I voted for you, but I didn't want war. I don't see what Iran was going to do. They've been 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon for 40 years. I don't understand this war. And it's going to take you down, Trump. This is the thing that's going to lose you the midterms, unless you pull a miracle between now and October. Hey, Zaid Comics is here. I was thinking about weird westerns. Check out The Man with No Strings by Zaid Comics. That's Phil and his brother. I forgot your brother's name. I'm embarrassed. Phil Diaz. Everybody saying hello, Phil. With all the money the new mayor's taking from the millionaires, won't that mean utopia? Yeah. Well, he's announcing. It's funny.
New York is going to be nowhere pretty soon.
Yeah. We're going to have the Duke of New York, and he's #1 pretty soon. He just announced that he closed the deficit. Well, that's what happens when you don't pay anything. He raided all the pensions. He raided all the city funds, which I know I'm just like, you get all you Democrats, all you union Democrats, you voted for this guy, and now he raided your pensions. You know, so that's what he did. He stopped services. You kind of have to do that. I mean, if the city's working on a deficit, you have to cut services, stuff like that. But you know, I don't know. I think New York is going to get worse before it gets any better. Oscar says you need to do a horror tale spinoff. I have 2 horror stories in the works, but right now I'm spreading out as you know, as the Hobbit says, too little butter over too much bread right now. I got to launch a campaign. I got to get money coming this way for a couple of months. Please, guys, back Heroic Tales Christmas special will be launching soon. You know, because I got 7 artists. You know, and that ain't cheap. A colorist, a letterer, a flatter, a guy who does logos. RJ will tell you. So we're all caught up with the comments. You had a topic you wanted to talk about.
Oh no, I just wanted to do. I just slapped Doctor Strange on my thumbnail because you were telling me about the metaphysician last week, and I was really getting into a lot of the stuff that you were sending me. So I just figured we'd talk a little bit comic magic for a little bit.
Okay. For those of you who don't know what RJ's talking about, and why would you? I wrote a script. I have a character called the Metaphysician. Matter of fact, I'll get an image of him, but he's my Doctor Strange type character, and his weakness is he will do no harm. So he actually took the Hippocratic Oath. So one of the things I did while writing his story is I looked up the actual Hippocratic Oath. We talk about it, but I read the real oath. Did you know that the Hippocratic Oath, and here's why I think we don't take it anymore, is part of the Hippocratic Oath is a doctor will never perform an abortion. Did you know that that's part of it?
I don't remember reading that, but the last time I read the Hippocratic Oath was probably in university. So,
and to do no harm is not actually in the Hippocratic Oath. It's in basic Hippocrates paraphrased himself and basically said it basically means do no harm. But that's the name of the metaphysician story, Do No Harm. And here is my character, so you know what we're talking about. There we go. Drawn. Oh, like I said, this is drawn by Renzo. This is my card. It'll be available in my store. So that's the metaphysician. And the symbol means something. It will be explained probably in the second or third symbol. So he is the doctor to the universe, and his weakness is he will do no harm. So he doesn't shoot lightning bolts and fireballs at the bad guys, much to the chagrin of the other members of his super team that are more punch in the face and guns kind of guys. So, but anyway, I wrote a story. And I don't want to say what the story's about, but let's just say it could be viewed as controversial. So I sent it out to a bunch of friends, and my first friend, and I'm going to keep names because it's not here to embarrass anybody. He said, you can't publish this story. It's too controversial. You're going to have people mad at you. And then I was like, oh no. I don't want to get canceled or anything. So I sent it around to other people, and everybody else seemed to like it a lot. You know, they said it was one of my best stories. So, you know, I want to reach out to my original friend and see, like, you know, is it okay? Like I'll tweak it a little bit because I don't want him to get upset. But anyway, I'm beating around the bush because I don't want to give the story away. But RJ really liked it.
Oh yeah, I read the story, the pages that John gave me. I'll just let everybody know that when John puts this up, go get it, because I read the first page and I was doing it for a, we'll say, a favor for John. But after I read the first page and got into the second, I was reading it because I wanted to see what happened. So that's how good the story was. Hooked me in 2 pages.
Cool. I kind of gave hints about what it's about, but you know, Oscar introduced me to this artist called Andres, and he's doing my Christmas special right now. And when that's done, I'm going to give him the metaphysician story, and then he's also going to do my Santa Claus story. But that's not done. That's turning out to be a bigger project than I thought. I might have to break that up into 2 or 3 issues. So and I don't want Andres to go away, so I'm going to give him the metaphysician story. So that might show up sooner. That's getting ahead of the roster. But anyway, so we're talking about magic system. So what did you want to talk about?
Just a second there, John. I got another super chat. I think it's in my. Hey, RJ, I just wanted to shout out and thank you for all your videos. I haven't been watching your videos, slightly too busy on gaming culture. That's quite all right. You can always go back and listen to my videos anytime. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, for the super chats. I don't know where everybody's coming out of the woodwork tonight. This is great.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, RJ. I hope my book comes out. Yeah, my book is definitely coming out. My book is definitely coming out because the way I work it is the last campaign pays for the next campaign. So my last campaign made enough money. So this book is already prepaid for kind of thing. And then the money that I'm raising with this campaign, I'm hoping for the next campaign. So, you know, it's nerve wracking. I know other people, not to name anybody, but they make a campaign and then spend all that money and then hope that the next campaign makes it so that the campaign that they already spent their money on makes enough money to come out. I don't do that. And then when I point that out, I got attacked and made fun of. But you don't spend that money ain't yours. That money ain't yours until the books are mailed. Writing topic. Do you mind sharing anything on Kill Your Darlings, as in cutting off stuff you want to hear for the story's sake? What do you think? Yeah. If you don't want to beat up your characters, it's going to be a boring story. You know, what do you want? The patriarch wakes up, gets milk, punches a bad guy, comes home, goes fishing with his kids. Everything's perfect. There's got to be, something that messes up the plans. There's got to be something that causes problems. There's got to be,
My first book, as bad as it was, I killed off a character I dearly did not want to kill off. And to me, in my universe, death is death.
Oscar wants me to show off the King Fu cover. Do you have the updated one with the corrections and everything? Because, all right, I could show the one. It needs one little correction, but I will show. Oh, what is going on? Welcome to StreamYard. Man, it's asking me for a passcode, and I don't know the passcode. My passcode was incorrect. You're gonna watch me smash my computer live on. Oh, okay, it worked. Cool. So this is the cover for Christmas Magic. There's just one little tweak that needs to be done, but overall, it's. Oh, that's not it. I already showed that. So my next comic is going to be Heroic Tales Christmas Special. And it's King Fu. And then the other side is Christmas Magic. Oh, you want me to show the King Fu cover? Well, this is the Christmas Magic story. So this is the cover. So here we got the patriarch flying with Santa Claus. And you'll note that Santa Claus is not red and white because historically Santa Claus was not red and white. So I'm going with the more historical Santa Claus. So I know that's going to confuse people. But and then I will show the King Fu cover if I can find it. So you want to talk while
this is how Santa Claus flies under the radar, so nobody notices him because he's not wearing red. So everybody just thinks he's a drunken play actor.
Yeah, well, that's what this story does. This story explains why Santa Claus comes to some people's houses and not to other people's houses. So, you don't need to see my private chats with Oscar. Oscar, we're talking about a story that he's going to be working on. But why can't I find? Oh, that's because that's the wrong chat. Yeah. A lot of this is real exciting. Okay, so this is the undressed King Fu cover. This is Christmas special. Yeah, doesn't that look very Christmassy? Yeah, this is Christmas in the way Die Hard is Christmas. It happens at Christmas. But that's King Fu with Lieutenant Walsh and the ape hands coming out. What does that have to do? You'll see. Read the book. It's so good. This Renzo's art is so freaking good. And Oscar's colors. Oh my God. He just sent me a page today. It's so good. So good. But there you go. That's King Fu. And Luke Stone of Fund My Comic is doing the cover dress now. He'll be done with that probably tomorrow. Yeah, this comic is going to be so good. I mean, you saw the two high level artists. Andres is not a second banana to Renzo. They're both, I think, just as equally good. You guys into the adult magazine Heavy Metal? It's been great. Yeah, I got a magazine box of like 100 straight issues of 1 to like 100 of Heavy Metal. I don't know where I got it. At one point, I was just going on eBay and buying full runs of stuff. So I think I must have just bought it in a frenzy. So I got to read it.
Just to let you know, Tim, there are a lot of guys out there right now who are doing crowd-funded magazines who are trying to do something like Heavy Metal, Dragon Magazine. I gave some of the first pages of Crom the Destroyer as a preview for the Mad Scribe, which he originally wanted to do much more of a Heavy Metal magazine, although it's turned into a bit of a Dragon Magazine kind of thing. But there's a lot of guys out there trying to get that indie scene going, so you should look around.
Goobermensch says, currently spending my birthday on the phone with the IRS. Send me strength. I hear you. When I was out of work, my insurance company gave me money, because that's what we pay insurance for. And my wife is so good. I told her to lower our insurance so it would be cheaper every month. And she said, okay, and didn't. And good thing she didn't, because when I got into my car accident, if you remember, I broke my neck. I was out of work for 8 months. My insurance gave me a bunch of money. But lo and behold, they didn't take tax out of it. So I was just dealing with the IRS. So yeah, yay. You break your neck and the government's got to get paid, right? Yeah, where were they? Where were they when my neck was broken? My insurance paid the ambulance. My insurance paid the hospital, but the government's got to get a cut of me breaking my neck.
So I was looking at the metaphysician. I didn't realize, because I was just reading the script, I didn't see any of the visuals. But I think you're going with more, let's say, hooded Doctor Strange. I guess masked Doctor Strange in that. If you go back to, I don't know, was it first run that he had the masked Doctor Strange? He actually had the black face.
Yeah,
second series.
Yeah, in the second series he had the mask. He's covering up his face because in magic, the more people know about you, the better their spells work against you. So if you
know their name, yes, that's very magical. That's the thing.
So he's covering his face. He calls himself the metaphysician. So if you know his real name and what he looks like, you could still cast spells against him right now, or you could shoot him with a gun or hit him with a lightning gun or laser beams from your eyes. But your spells are going to be slightly less effective against him because you don't really know who he is. And
an interesting. I think it's Etrigan the Demon, when they had that as a regular series. One of the fun story arcs began with the fact that some guy was trying to, it's basically shadow government. He was listing all the things that he wanted in a president, and he checked it over 3 different times, and after calling on all of these attributes 3 different times, he summoned up a demon, which was Etrigan, because what he was actually describing was a demonic force. And when you say the demonic force's name 3 times, it brings it into the reality with you, right? So as a fun little story arc for Etrigan the Demon, if we're talking about magical stories.
I always tell people that my comics are, Bronze Age Marvel with Dungeons and Dragons and then Lovecraft. You're going to see a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in the metaphysician because he's basically a D&D wizard. He needs spells. He needs components. So you see all those pouches? Those are all his material components for his spells. And one of his spells is he miniaturizes everything. So in one of those pouches may be a sword or an umbrella or another pouch. So he opens up the pouch, there's a pouch, and he expands the pouch. You know what I mean? Things like that. But he has all his, his beeswax, his spider legs, whatever he needs to cast these spells. And one of the things I would like to do if this character catches on is actually like tell one of his stories and take like a couple of pages making his spell book. Or maybe, one day I would like to do like an art. We were talking about this, like make like a role playing, a fake role, like make the rules to a role playing game that maybe doesn't exist or something like that, and have all of his spells and his spell books.
Here's a fun idea, John, just coming out of the top of my head. Okay, so I'm thinking about different magic systems and about how things might work with reagents, what you're talking about. So how to cast spells that way. A fun thing to do, let's say you get, a couple issues into Metaphysician, right? Is he casts so many spells that he's basically out of any reagents, so he can't cast any spells. So at that time, his backup system would be that the back of each pouch has a runic symbol on it, because runic magic, and you put them together in a certain way, and therefore it becomes a runic spell, which is not very strong, but would be like last ditch effort. This is what I'm doing because I got nothing left, right? That would be a good little thing to throw in.
Well, yeah. The way my magic system works is you need 5. It's going to be. I'm actually, there's a sigil. It's a 5-pointed star. So you need hand gestures. So some semantic components. You need a verbal components. You need a material component. Why can't I think now? And you need thought. And then in the middle, is it material, verbal, semantic, thought, and what is the last one? I forget what the last one is. Material, whatever. And then you need all of those to make a spell. If you're missing one, the other ones need to make up for it. So if he doesn't have the material component, he can still cast a spell, but then he needs to concentrate more, or he needs to gesticulate more, or he has to vocalize more. So like if you put him in a room, a vacuum, and he can't vocalize his spells, it's going to make things more and more difficult for him to cast. You know what I mean? But he can still, like, if he's all chained up and he can't move, and then he's in the vacuum, he can still cast a spell, but it's going to be intense thought concentration, like to the point like he'll probably like bleed. So he compensates by this. He'll cast spells into rings, amulets, like magic items for Dungeons & Dragons. So inside his pouches, he has rings. In that story that I sent you, he used a magic item, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he that's what he does. So he has like little miniature wands and staffs, and he'll pull out his staff, and the staff might have fireballs or whatever, because he has all the D&D spells, but he's not going to hit people in the face with fireballs, because that harms. You know what I mean? Like he might cauterize a wound if you have like magic aids or something like that. But
I can't wait to see Cone of Cold or Stinking Cloud come out of this guy.
A Stinking Cloud would be a fun one. Cone of Cold. And like I said, they're all on a team called the Meta League, and the founding members of the Meta League are they would probably fit in with Image Comics. Like the Colonel Strong is a guy with guns. He's not above shooting people in the face. And then his enforcer is Magnum, who has no problem punching you through a building. And then you got the Patriarch, who's a goody-goody. So they kind of tease him. We're on our best behavior now. The Patriarch's here, kind of things. And then the metaphysician is there, who's more on the Patriarch side of like, no, this person has a problem. So they like tease the magician of the group, while the Bleeding Heart Liberal is here, kind of thing. But they can't doubt that he's efficient and he knows what he's talking about. And then I'm going to start with the metaphysician story as the go-getters joining the team, and she's young and naive. So is she going to join the more vigilante side, or is she going to join the more noble, good side? And then there's other members of the team, like the Spartan. He thinks he's a reincarnation of a Greek Spartan. He has Green Lantern powers, but he could only make objects of bronze that existed in Spartan Greek times. So shields, swords, a lever. a column. He can't make a TV or a spaceship or anything like that.
It's funny because a lot of let's talk about say Doctor Strange or Doctor Fate. They always have that limitation, which you rightfully, I think, have put on your character as well, because Doctor Fate is a lord of order, right? He's a defender of order against chaos, whereas Doctor Strange is sorcerer supreme, defender of magic and things like that. There's the limitation always put upon these hero characters that use magic in the current ones anyways. I don't know if we go back to like the Phantom Stranger or Spectre or things like that, but there's that limitation, which I think is really good for magic type characters.
Well, first, I think limitation is good for any character. Like if you read Dan Garrett, the original Blue Beetle from the 40s, towards the end of his run, he in the Golden Age, they brought him back in the Silver Age a little bit more limited, but that guy could do anything. He was like Dr. Manhattan. And who cares then at that point? I told the story a million times, and somebody said my biggest problem is I repeat myself, and you're absolutely right. But somebody in the chat was telling me that they're making up a comic book character, and they're the most powerful superhero ever. They could beat the Patriarch. They could beat Thomas Valiant. They could beat Superman. They could beat the Hulk. I was like, that's great. I said, but where's the story? Where's the drama? Where's the tension? So you could beat my character. Spider-Man could beat the Patriarch. You know what I mean? But like
my character gets Patriarch, or not the Patriarch. Thomas Valiant gets a crap kicked out of them issue number 1.
Right. Like, issue number 2, the Patriarch kind of got defeated in my comic. If you read that comic, he got played like a sucker because I think of him, he's modeled after a father, and a father doesn't, a good dad anyway, doesn't just go up into your room and start beating you up. RJ, no, he's going to listen to you, maybe trust you twice. And if you're the kind of kid that would take advantage of that, shame on you. But bad guys are bad guys. So he was kind of trusting with the Subterranean, and he got played. So there's going to be consequences to issue number 2. He saved the kid, but he got played, and he doesn't know he got played. So a couple of people are criticizing me. You got to give him a definitive win. I was like, you're right. So I sweat. Issue 2 and issue 3 I swapped because issue 2 is a definitive win. So issue 3, not so much. But yeah, I like that. Like, so this person in the chat, I was just like, I don't mean to be mean, but the superhero could beat everybody else. That's like what an 8-year-old makes up. You know what I mean? Like, my first superhero character that I made up was the most powerful superhero in the world. He could beat everybody. He was unbeatable. Notice I'm not making characters. I'm not making comics with this character because it's a terrible idea. I mean, One Punch Man works because that's the whole idea of One Punch Man. But, if I make up a character who could just beat up the Hulk, that's why I don't like the Blue Marvel over at Marvel Comics. Guy just stepped into, and I like Kevin Garreau. He's actually friends with one of my friends. He's a good guy. I like him. So don't think I'm being mean about this guy, but he writes one thing for Marvel, the Blue Marvel series, and in the Blue Marvel series, he makes the greatest superhero ever existed. He's this super black guy who's been around for 500 years, did nothing, thinks slavery is outrageous, but did nothing about slavery and just hung out. And now he's showing up and he's more powerful than the Hulk. He could beat Thor. He's, it's like, yeah, he's the worst character ever. He could have changed the world for good and chose not to. Where's this? Of all the infinite things you could have made up of why he couldn't act for 500 years, you chose he just didn't want to. That the government told him, oh, we can't have a powerful black man. That's going to scare all the white people. Okay, it's so stupid. And now they're going to make him it's going to be an insufferable Marvel movie. You watch. But yeah, limitations. So if you have a magician, you just can be like, I wave my fingers and solve the problem, right? So I'm going to try to make it obvious which spells my character's using, which material components he has, why he could use this, why he can't use that. Otherwise magic is tough to write. I think it just a rookie would just be like, he solves the problem. He's magic. Mandrake the Magician, one of the first superheroes. Yes, he's in the public domain. I don't like this character because of what I'm talking about. Mandrake had no limitations. He could do whatever he wanted. He could solve any problems. You know, like he was like the Voltron Sun Sword. He had Logar, right? Was his sidekick. Logar would beat up everybody. Then Logar would get defeated. Then Mandrake would just wave his hands and solve the problem. So he's a modern audience hero. Who? My character? I hope not. So what you know, you have magic characters in your books. What do you have, like, any system to base them on, or are you making it up?
Well, I don't really have magic characters. That's I've been saying for a long time on my channel. So for Crom the Destroyer, you have different kind of systems. I wouldn't personally call them magic. Let's just say, because they got there's the demonic force, and there's a guy who is way ahead of his time with what he can use. So, you know, they appear like magic. Both of them appear like magic. So it's everybody's just going to say it's magic. But to me, I have a system laid out, and that's why there is a magic duel in Crom the Destroyer. But, you know, it's two different systems competing against each other, and I have those systems in my head and how they work out. But, you know, I don't tell the audience that, because it's very much Conan the Barbarian. If you read, I can't remember even the story's name right now, but one of the stories for Conan the Barbarian, it's basically a wizard. He's trying to flee from the city, and I don't know if Conan's chasing him, but basically he has a mechanized horse, right? It's stuff like that, right?
Yeah. The Blue Marvel, yeah, he's made for a modern audience. He's the most powerful. He's the most bestest. He's unstoppable. He's the coolest black guy ever. And he's retroactively Marvel's first bestest superhero, but he did nothing for 400 years or 500 years or whatever. I just found it to be like, that's something a child makes up. You know, there's nothing wrong with making him black. There's nothing wrong with making him the most powerful, but just the way you did it. Now, retroactively, he's the best. Like, they did that with the Sentry, but the Sentry's weakness, he's schizophrenic. And the longer he uses his power, the more his evil self gets more. So the only way to defeat the Void is to not be the Sentry. You know, is he schizophrenic? He's kind of creepy. Is he mentally manipulating? Like, is his wife just a woman he's infatuated with? He doesn't really have friendships. I thought that the Sentry had enough tension and detriments to him that made him interesting. Whereas the Blue Marvel is just, I'm so powerful that I scare Whitey. That's your character? That's the best you got? That is just the lamest thing in the world. That's like the new, you know, what's his name? The guy from Keel and Peele, you know, his newest movie. What if all the racism, what if all the air turned into racism? Ta-da, there's my movie. You know, I don't buy it. It's like identity politics, the superhero. And he scares Whitey. That's his main power. And I just find him to be lame. I don't know. Maybe there are no bad characters. Maybe with the good writer, they'll make something good about him, or reveal why he hasn't been doing anything for 400 years. You know, just, can you imagine that? Like, what good is a superhero? You're Spider-Man, and it's just like, I'm going to go get a job at the DMV, you know, and you're just filling out people's paperwork, sticking to the walls. Like, aren't you Spider-Man? Yeah, but, you know, I got a pension in 30 years. Like, you're not a hero. So did I hijack it and ruin your topic again? Like I always do?
No, I'm just trying to think of more, let's say, obscure, because I was thinking about Etrick and the Demon, and I was thinking I haven't read that series in a long time.
Well,
I really like Etrick and the Demon, though, just because of the whole Shakespearean rhyming thing, although I don't think they do that in the new stuff. They had an entire series, just to let everybody know, in the 80s and 90s of Etrigan. It was an ongoing series, and he had to rhyme all the time. The writers had to make sure every line he spoke rhymed with the next line he spoke.
You know, yeah. Like some of the magician characters, like I like Zatanna, but I also don't like Zatanna at the same time. She's just too powerful. You know, like she, you know, why doesn't she just say, villain, defeat yourself? or villain collapse, or you know what I mean? Like this when Zatanna shows up, like what stops her from doing stuff like that? That what cost? So like that's what I think. I think magic has to have a cost. So my way of thinking is like if you're a sorcerer, like the metaphysician is a sorcerer, but he's a magician, like what I would call a logomancer. He works through spells, words, and formulas. But sorcery is when you tap into something else. So your source could be a magic staff. So you got the staff of fireballs, and you're not. The staff is all prepared. It's got the fireball magic inside the staff, and you cast in the fireball. You're a sorcerer using the staff as your source. You could also be a sorcerer using a demon as your source, or an angel, or a Greek god, or God himself. You know what I mean? Whatever. If the power comes from someplace else, you're a sorcerer. And I think that is compelling too, because what if you make a pact with some demonic being? You know what I mean? And now you want to do good, but you're tainted, like Etrigan. You know what I mean? Like, is he good, or Ghost Rider or something? that's a whole interesting thing. And I have a metaphysician story where he goes up with a guy who makes a pact with somebody he shouldn't have made a pact with, and he's trying to do good, but you can't do good with demonic favors kind of thing.
That's really funny you should mention it, the Ghost Rider, John, because here's the funny thing about Ghost Rider as a character. They've tried in modern Marvel, like I haven't read anything in the last little while, certainly. But when I was back reading Marvel a couple of years ago, they were trying to use Ghost Rider over and over again, and it always completely failed. They would never get anything close to good sales for that character, but people love that character. Whenever I post something about Ghost Rider, it just takes off like crazy, especially if it's beautiful art.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider, both my older brothers are Harley biker guys, and I almost say things that I shouldn't say about them sometimes. Stuff that should not be repeated on the internet. But let's just say that they're Harley biker guys. They loved Ghost Rider. Like, Ghost Rider was one of the first comics that I ever got because they were buying Ghost Rider comics, and then they would look at the bikes and the fire and the demonic skulls and stuff like that. How could this was all the stuff that they were into, and then I would end up getting the comics. So some of my earliest comics were Ghost Rider. Everybody loves Ghost Rider, but unfortunately, I don't think Ghost Rider's ever had that definitive story. The closest Ghost Rider's ever had is his origin, which is kind of lame. Let's be realistic. And then the other one is like the 666 souls escaped from hell, and he had to. That was kind of cool that they kind of based the second Ghost Rider movie on. But other than that, nobody. You can name any other superhero character. They've had a definitive story that everybody's. Oh, you like Batman? You got to get this. You got to. Batman Year One. The Spider-Man. I don't want to say the Clone Saga, but the Fantastic Four. I think the whole John Byrne run, the Thor, the Walt Simonson stories. Those are definitive. Just get them. You got the character. What is the Ghost Rider stories?
John, I just want to say, I'll stick this in here. Your two brothers are motorcycle guys. I got a 68 BSA sitting in my building. Just mention it to them. See,
do you ride?
No, I don't ride. It was my father's, and it's been sitting in storage for about 30 years.
Oh, so, wow! What is it? What?
68 BSA.
Oh, okay. I'll ask them if they. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure they would. Do I like the Ghost Rider movies? The first Ghost Rider movie, believe it or not, was my wife and I's first date. So she loves that movie. She bought the DVD. I had to pretend that I liked it more than I would, because you don't want to be like on your first date with a girl. It wasn't our first date. It was our first movie date. But it was like, all right, I like it, but I was disappointed with it. I like the second one a little bit more. What else? I was going to say something, but how could Ghost Rider so cool? Like, kids would draw Ghost Rider when I was in school. They didn't like comics, or they didn't particularly care about comics, but everybody drew it. Oh, Ben Sabat voice act. This is probably my second or third favorite single issue of all time, Ghost Rider 35, the Jim Starlin fill-in issue. And it's so good. It's so good. It was an inventory issue, meaning they Jim Starlin wrote it, drew it, did everything, and then Marvel just put it away for a rainy day. And then Ghost Rider was late on a deadline, so then they pulled it out. So it doesn't even fit. He has different powers. He has a different bike than what was going on, but it is so good. For it to be Marvel, if you worked for Marvel, they would hire you to just draw what they called an inventory issue. And the rule was it had to be self-contained, meaning only one issue. It couldn't really change up continuity, so nothing really major happened. And you may or may not see it published. And what they were, or if Marvel got caught up, things happen, they needed quick, pull this out, print that, get it out, because Marvel had to have their comics come out on time, or they would get sued by the distributors in the newsstand. They had to have it. They had to meet their deadlines. And Chuck Dixon says that he has about 13 or 14 Jim Aparo Batman stories that are gone. He just imagine that, 13 self-contained Chuck Dixon, Jim Aparo Batman stories that have never seen the light of day. Man, I would love those. I would love to see DC print that, make that. Lost Batman Tales, 12-issue series. You get a year of great sales. Yeah. The same director of Hellboy. I didn't see The Crooked Man. Is it any good? John, they're making Escape from New York. Yeah, it's a reality show. It's happening right now. All the I can't believe this stupid mayor went to that guy's house, and this guy's got 300, and then that guy was just like, okay, I don't know the guy's name, but some billionaire. He owns a gigantic, whatever, three stories of a building. That's his home, and he doesn't live there all year round. So this mayor has to call him out on it. And the guy's like, okay, I'm taking my money. He donated $300 million to some hospital. He's like, I'm pulling it back. And he's already in Miami, and he took that $300 million and he donated it to Miami. I just saw a commercial from Miami on YouTube. Thank you, Mendani. This is what's being built with the money that he just pulled out of New York. Congratulate. That's why I believe Mendani is a Manchurian candidate. He's there to destroy New York. He's not there to help. Which is why I think all politicians need to be born in the United States, or at the very least live here for 20 years. I'm RJ. What do you think about this? I think to be a politician, you got to have kids that are born in America. You got to have roots in this country. Look at that mayor in California. She's a freaking Chinese spy.
Here's the funny thing, John. I think it was, what was it? Plato basically said you shouldn't be able to hold office until you're over 50.
I don't know. I think in order to vote, you need to be a positive taxpayer, meaning you actually have to pay. If you get benefits, you can't vote because you're just going to vote whoever gives you more benefits. You have to be a taxpayer. You have skin in the game.
I can honestly see that as being something one of these countries is going to implement at some point. It's like, okay, if you are an immigrant into this country and you've been on social benefits for more than 5 years, away you go. Back to where you came from.
No, if you're an immigrant, you can't get social benefits. Why you come here just to be on the dole? No, you come here because you have a skill or you can support yourself. If you're born here and you legit have a problem, that's one thing. I'm not that heartless. You got no legs. You're blind, And second of, join a church then. Join a church. Be nice to your family. You know what I mean? Like, and that when all else fails, that, the government will take care of you. But like, I also think round up all the homeless, put them, buy some, some slum, and they can't leave. They got a curfew. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. Why are you out? It's dark. You're on benefits. You live here now. It's not a jail, but you ain't going and mixing into the suburb people until you get a job. Clean yourself up. And I got nothing to say about Cosmic Ghost Rider because I really don't know him. He's after my time at Marvel.
Yeah, no. The whole the Ghost Rider, the new Ghost Rider one who drives the car is completely awful. He's trying to be too much of a superhero. I think again, best Ghost Rider is when he's mixing with magic, not superheroes.
Yeah,
Although the Mark Texera stuff is beautiful and there's a lot of superhero stuff in there, but there is the undertone of magic all the time because it's basically a demon versus angels storyline.
yeah, I don't know much about the Ghost Rider in the car. What's his name? Like Rick Reyes or something like that. It doesn't bother me that he has a car because the original Ghost Rider had a horse, then he had a motorcycle. I think like the vehicle or the motion or the riding part is like a zeitgeist, like in a couple of years, Ghost Rider is going to be flying a drone. And that don't bother me. That's kind of cool, but I don't know anything about the character other than he drives a car. And it's off the Fast and Furious, so whatever. I don't like when there's 14 different superheroes at the same time, but with the same name, it dilutes the character. We were just talking about him. Yeah, it don't bother me. Like I said, it seems to be the vehicle is whatever the zeitgeist demands it to be. And at one point, Ghost Rider rode a horse. The original Ghost Rider. So the new Ghost Rider don't ride a horse anymore. He rides a motorcycle. And now he rides a car. And in 10 years from now, he's going to have a flying drone, which would be pretty cool graphic-wise.
Well, that's basically Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's got like a flying bicycle. So it's basically Lobo. But yeah, the only thing I would say I really don't care that much about what he drives. But at the same time, one of the things that really threw me about the Hispanic Ghost Rider is it's kind of hard to have Ghost Rider and his chaotic brand of justice when all of a sudden he has to step outside the car every time he pulls up, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
like when you're on the horse, you lasso something. You're on the bike, you just jump off, right? But here, let me park the car, and then I'll go. Hold on a second here.
A convertible, yeah, I guess, or he hits a button and he ejects out like in a spy movie. Yeah, does he open the door and come out, or does he jump in like the Dukes of Hazzard? These are the things we got to talk about if we're gonna have a Ghost Rider in a car. Now, could he bring other people, and do they get burnt? Like, could they get in the car? Because isn't the car made out of fire?
I didn't read that many stories with him in it, but if I remember correctly, yes, he can bring other people in the car.
Okay, all right. Hey, Ghost Rider, let's let's go to the park. No, my car's for justice, not for trips to the park. He goes to the supermarket, he comes back, all of his vegetables are burnt. Damn it. I forgot to turn off the fire again.
Ghost Rider lives in a van down by the river.
Yeah, Ghost Rider in the van, Ghost Riders and the champions. The champions go get Ghost Rider. He's down, you always see those LA movies, the aqueducts. He's there down in the aqueduct, and you go down there, Ghost Rider's just using his fire to heat up a can of raviolis. That's
he's got the bum stove going. Yeah, see,
yeah. Oh man. Here's another topic. Do you? How many? Like, you have a lot of characters. In issue 1, Renzo had to draw like 1 billion characters. Did you think up all those characters? Did Renzo think up all those characters? Or did he just draw people and you came up with them afterwards?
I gave him basically what I do for everything. Like I've always said, is I take 2 characters, smush them together. So I gave Renzo a list of characters to play off of, and I said to some of them, put this one next to that one and smush them into one. So yeah, most of the characters Renzo did throw in a bunch of things for himself. Like there's a guy who looks like the Punisher, except for he doesn't have a skull on his front. He has a smiley face with the dead eyes, right? Stuff like that. So Renzo did come up with a bunch of things to fill in the background. Lady with the fish head and all that kind of stuff. But I did give him, I would say, at least half, if not more than half of the characters. But again, though, the whole point of why there is so many characters in my first book was because there's supposed to be a difference between actual heroes and people who are play acting heroes, like they're the superhero version of Hollywood.
Yeah, so Renzo right now he's finishing up the King Fu. He's about 75% done with that, and then he's gonna finish up the Patriarch. He's about 40% done with the Patriarch, but it was taking a little bit longer. So I said, let's do King Fu so we can have it by Christmas. He'll finish that by when Patriarch is done. I'm hoping the Chuck Dixon story is done. If not, we're gonna do Mary Sue. Now I'm saying all this because after Mary Sue, Renzo's going to do the Raven. I forgot about that. So then Raven, and then after that, it's a story about a funeral of one of the Golden Age superheroes, and I got about 100 characters in that story. And Oscar, oh man, I feel bad for having to color that. Renzo having to draw, but I made up every single character. They have a name. Like I have a backstory for every character in that book, and I'm not joking. There's probably going to be about 60 people at this funeral. And then afterwards, they all go to like a bar and tell stories about that guy. I'm literally going to be drawing every one of them because I'm a nut job. I'm like, no, these are my characters. I want them to look like I love designing them. So no, this guy has a stripe like this. So I was just wondering if you designed those costumes or Renzo designed those, because he designed some cool stuff. He's got the eye for
a lot of the costumes here that for most of the characters, if we were doing anything really intense, Renzo would always give me 3 different versions. He was amazing to do that. He would give me 3 different versions. I would say a bit of this, a bit of that, and we'll go with that, because he would basically do an 80s version, a 70s version, an 80s version, and a 90s version. I would usually go with the 80s.
Yeah, it's a ghost Prius. A ghost Tesla. There you go, ghost Tesla. people go to key it up and they burst into flames. I just wondering because I can't stop thinking of characters. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like just yesterday, I saw a word and I don't want to give it away, but I was just like, oh wow, there's a cat, and then I thought of a character. He's basically like a superhero version of like a 20s gangster or 20s mobster. And I'm like, okay, why would a guy right now have a motif like a Bugsy Malone or Scarface? And I was like, he's either time traveling, which makes it too complicated. I was like, oh, because he's an actor. And then because of that, I came up with a whole big story. And then I was talking to somebody else, and they're like, yeah. They actually sent me some background material. And now I'm like already writing a new story that didn't exist 3 days ago. Are you like that? Do you just like, people always ask me, and this sounds egotistical, and I don't mean it to be egotistical. I'm not even saying I'm a good writer. I'm just saying I have a billion ideas. And I have a schedule. This story has to happen first. This story has to happen second. So I kind of write the stories in that. But every once in a while, I get like, oh my god, and I have to do this. That's what happened with the Metaphysician. He wasn't supposed to come down for like a couple of more years actually, but now he's coming down because I couldn't get that story out of my head.
Well, like I do have a list of notes. So basically, I try to stay on track, but I do have a running list of basically story ideas. When something hits me, it's like, I got to write this down, and I write it down and I leave it. A lot of those story ideas ended up getting, let's say, taken into the Fade to Blue stories, just because I figure, might as well use this instead of trying to wait and see if it will become an entire story unto itself. So yeah, yes and no. Like I said, I write in fits and spurts, unfortunately, right at this moment, because I'm trying to get other things done with the creation of the comics. But yeah, I would write. If I could just write for 8 hours a day, I would love that. I would not have writer's block. I just wouldn't. I would keep going.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't have writer's block. I have too many ideas, and I don't have enough time to do it.
Oh yeah.
Usually it's just Sundays, because Sunday seems to be like the lazy day at my house. Like Saturday, I work a lot of overtime on Saturdays, and I come home and if I got that sleepy feeling, it's like, and then after work, especially now, I'm working 12-hour days. I come home, I can't write anything. So it's just Sunday. I get to sleep in, and then I do my Sunday comics, and then I'll write. And it's just, I don't know. Like, I try to schedule it, but sometimes I get so enthusiastic about something else that I jump ahead. So I don't. I was just wondering if you're more disciplined than I am.
If I didn't have other jobs to do and other things to look after, I would be much more disciplined. But yeah, I got so many things going on right now. It's like I am trying desperately to get Crown the Destroyer out, but I will have so many stories backed up after that that I don't know if I'm going to have to write another one, except for putting them in a pile for another year after that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I want, like, to me, Renzo is the look of my comics. So Renzo was always this is what it looks, but there's only one of Renzo, and he's working with a bunch of other people too. And now Oscar introduced me to this guy Andres that is just so good. He's just as good as Renzo in a different kind of way. I think he specializes in horror kind of stuff, but so I'm going to try to give him more supernatural stuff. But so now maybe I could double up my input. I don't know. I'm just so excited. I'm so thankful. I consider myself. Yeah, this is exactly the picture I was thinking of. I'm trying to make it bigger.
So if anybody wants to know, this is one of the pages from Thomas Valiant #1. Yeah, so this is pure Renzo. But again, I gave him most of these characters. Again, there's the Punisher guy he created, and but Renzo ran with a lot of stuff. So I can't even remember which one is his and which one is mine. But I did give him a lot of.
Could you name? Did all these characters have a name?
No. I would say probably about half of them have names, but a lot of them are just visuals. I'm 100% visual person. Like everything is a drawing to me. I've been corrupted by comics so much. Like everybody always says that I don't like music. Well, I don't really listen to a whole lot of music, but my friends, like when we're listening to music, they say, what image comes into your head? Because if it's orchestral, it's obviously a movie soundtrack, and I will see an actual vision of what's going on. But yeah, everything's visual to me. So everything comes up as visual, and then I give names to things afterwards. But most of them, again, are compilations of different characters. You can see a lot of like Legion of Superheroes and what is it? Different influences for Thor and Teen Titans, Punisher. There's Johnny Quick, and you got Ghost Rider, and all these kinds of things, obviously. But yeah, Renzo ran with it, so I let him go.
The page that said I got to ask if Renzo could draw my book. Literally, this was the page. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. This to me is that page right there. Is John Byrne and George Perez had an art baby named Renzo Rodriguez. I love that page. Yeah, Renzo, there's going to be a couple of pages like this in that story coming up where there's just a million characters interacting. Yeah, I loved that page. I was like a little kid. And I always wanted to ask you, like, what is everybody's names? What's their names and backstories?
My memory is so shot, John. I would have to look up my original notes to see the names of these characters, quite honestly, because I've created so many characters since then that these characters have gotten lost in my brain.
Yeah, I love this page. Yeah, and they're all good comic book character designs. They all got good superhero suits. It would be a shame, not to see them ever again, because back Diversity Comics, Richard T. Mayo, he would say, oh yeah, this looks like the superhero that you get in like a brush your teeth comic in The Dentist. You know what I mean? So you ever see, like, not to be mean to anybody, but you get a comic and you're like, oh, these superheroes are like, amateurish design, but these are all. I could see these as a Marvel or a DC. These are great designs for these characters.
Funny thing is that we did this page, and then Renzo also retooled. What does he say?
Oscar says that's why Renzo takes forever to finish a comic.
Yeah, no kidding. But Renzo retooled some of the characters that were supposed to be doing the night watch outside of the party in the mansion, and he did such a beautiful job with those characters that I said, okay, I'm rewriting this scene so we can use those characters for more than just one page.
Yeah. Yes, I know what you're saying. Sometimes you get a that guy's too cool. You know, that looks too good. I got it build on that. I'm okay. I'm going to show a page. This is one of the pages that this is one of the last pages in the Patriarch, and just look at how detailed this is. So here's the Patriarch. You know, Renzo drew. He didn't just phone it in. He drew people in these stadiums. So what's going on now is it's the 25th anniversary of the Patriarch. So the evil mayor is having a party, you know, and the Patriarch, of course, he's late because he was doing superhero stuff. But look at this. He didn't phone this in. You could see individual people and all the backgrounds, you know. Of course,
you can make out every butt cheek and all those.
Right.
All those cheerleaders. That's Renzo for you.
So you know when you tell Renzo you're drawing cheerleaders, you're gonna get a worm's eye view of the panties. You know? Back to our original concept. Now, is Kickstarter gonna bump my comic? Is this considered adult material? You know, but look at this. This is so good. You know, so detailed. Renzo is outstanding. I know it's only a matter of time before like he's gonna get scooped up by like somebody major, you know, and you know he deserves it. Yeah, he's so good. I can't wait. This Patriarch is so good. So what's next? You got Fate.
I was just wondering because I have. Well, I was going to say, John, a lot of people, first page of Artemis, the guy I'm working with for that, the artist, he's a manga artist, right? And he did the manga artist thing because I'm letting him do his stuff. He's the one who I just basically gave a rough outline to, and he ran with the story. But first page is a panty shot. Everybody's like, come on, you can't do that first page. I'm like, I'm not controlling what this guy is doing. He's the artist. I'm not the artist.
Now look at this. This is a panel of Patriarch fighting, you know, and then he gives her a timeout. You know, like I said, he's a father, so he puts her on this. You know, if you remember my first 2 weeks, there's the statue of the Colossus in the middle of this. But look at that, the details of the city. I told Red, like I sent him a couple of shots from Mr. X. You know, the story of Mr. X is very influential in the story of the city. You know, I actually reached out to Paul Revotion, asked him, you know, are you going to sue me? He's like, no, I'm so glad that you like Mr. X so much. But so look at the details. He did. I can't believe how much he put into that one panel. You know, he's so good. I can't wait.
There's a part in Thomas Valley #1 where you have Kit Fox looking at a computer generated screen of the city. And what, like, again, this is just let everybody know. This is how much work Renzo puts into things and how great an artist he is. He tracked down a architectural schematic computer program, which basically could automatically generate buildings according to what size he wanted, and then use that as the backdrop for the screen to basically show my characters running down a screen on a little computer screen as someone's looking at it. It's like, man, I didn't ask you to do that, but thank you.
Yeah, before he was a comic book artist, did he do like art for the city or schematics or something like that?
He did. What do you call it? Advertisement stuff. So he would do like the, you know, stuff you would read on the plane where you're supposed to read the safety manual and stuff like that.
That must have been so frustrating for a guy with his talent.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Elliot Page portraying Achilles? Yeah, why not? Just destroy one of the cornerstones of. Here, Alexander the Great was inspired by Achilles, and Caesar was inspired by Alexander the Great, and Napoleon was inspired by Caesar, and we all studied Napoleon. Achilles, like it or not, is one of the touchstones of Western civilization. Why not have this 14-year-old transgender person portray it? Why not? Who cares?
Funny thing is, okay, this has not been confirmed that she is playing that character. But that being said, I think there is a way which they're going to shoot themselves in their own foot if they do it the way I think they're going to do it. So basically, what in the Odyssey, excuse me, where you see Achilles, he's in Hades.
Right.
So he's basically in hell because he has to feed him blood, if I remember correctly, in order to get him into his right mind in order to speak to him. So he's basically in hell. So the point being that the version of Achilles, if it is Ellie, whatever, Ellen Page, if it is her, it's basically going to be Achilles has reverted to the girl-like version of himself, which is, you know, like a 15-year-old, well, or, you know, younger when his mother's hiding him as a girl. And that's his version of hell. And I'm thinking to myself, you're going to use this transgendered person as this is you in hell.
Yeah. So yes. So basically, Achilles' hell is to be Ellen Page. So there
Exactly.
you go. Maybe movie's based.
Because yeah, that would be hell for him. I mean, that would be the hell for Achilles because he's this giant warrior, and it's like I got to think back to when my mother dressed me up as a girl, and this is what I'm stuck as for the rest of eternity.
It's funny because people ask me that, like, you know, what's the Rainbow Coalition's fascination with Achilles? I said because, you know, they heard the story that his mom dressed him up as a woman, and then, you know, the slave Briareus. It may or may not be a boy, depending upon which version of the story you read. You know, I mean, we all know the Greeks had their, whatever you want to say, less savory encounters with boys. So some people could say he's one of them, and some people say he's not. So if there's a slight whiff of smoke, they claim it. They claim it like a badge of honor, like, you know, oh, look, Achilles is one of us. Yeah, but you're a guy who can't pay your bills, sitting in the house, you know, mutilating your genitals. You know, yay, good, you got Achilles. You know, like they claim Abraham Lincoln. You know, oh, the guy who founded the Republican Party is one of yours. Okay, great. But whatever. That I just don't understand. But they want Achilles, and I think this movie is gonna cement him in that side for 20 years. I don't know. I just get the feeling that this movie is going to be a colossal bomb, but a Hollywood darling. I think she's beautiful. I really do. Like she was gorgeous to look at in the Black Panther, but she's not Helen of Troy. You know what? Helen of Troy is the Queen of Sparta. Show me somebody from Sparta that looks like that. You know, especially Sparta of what, 3,000 years ago. It just pulls me out of the movie when you have a black woman Viking in you know, 13th century Norway. Is it okay? Can you have historically accurate movies, or don't make it historically accurate, and then don't make history movies like Bridgerton? Make whatever you want in Bridgerton. It's not a real place. We all know it's made up. Fine, you know, might as well have dwarves and elves in Bridgerton at this point. But if you're going to make something historical, either commit to the bit or don't commit to the bit.
I'm looking at the armor. I don't know. This would be a Metatron thing, but I'm looking at the armor from some of the screen captures that I've seen, and like, oh, it's going to be one of those kind of movies.
Yeah. I think we said it last week that the Mycenaean Greek armor looks more like Jack Kirby than not. You know, it's got lines, it's got colors, the plumage. You know, these guys wanted to be seen on the battlefield, or at least Homer wanted us to think that these guys wanted to be like. I don't know if Homer, because he was writing hundreds of years after these events too. So maybe because Homer didn't know how chariots worked, he basically used chariots as taxi cabs, right? You'd get on the chariot, you ride into battle, get off your chariot. You know, chariots were used to break phalanx lines. You know, but Homer obviously didn't know that. So who knows? Maybe Homer, but we're doing Homer's Odyssey. We're not doing historical Odyssey. So
if I remember correctly, the funny thing is, I'm not entirely 100% sure, but if I remember correctly, I don't think this Hollywood movie is going to make enough money so that they could actually create Achilles' shield, because that's how detailed and beautiful it was described as in the entire story.
Yeah, right. And then Ajax was pissed that he didn't get it.
Yeah.
supposedly Noel has got a rapper going to be the next. Oh, cool! So there's gonna be rap music in it. Great.
Yes, because apparently he thinks that um, the oral tradition of Homer is now equal to rap.
Oh, great. That don't like rap, ladies and gentlemen. What do you want me to do? I'm a 56-year-old guy from the suburbs. Like I don't like rap. Never liked rap. It sounds like people having an argument. You know, it's just not good. I don't like it. Don't worry, no historians were hired for this. Yeah, nobody who liked the source material was hired for this movie. Yeah.
We'll say Californian historians, revisionists.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe it's written by committee, but it's got Nolan's name on it. So ultimately, he's the monarch of this film. He's the buck stops with him. So yeah, I don't know. I would be careful what you wish for. I was wishing for a return to historical movies, and now this is the first one out of the gate, and it's like, no, no, I don't know.
They're remaking, well, let's say something Bright Star in the Horizon possibly is they're remaking Highlander with what's his name, Superman.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. Yeah, it
yes.
looks great.
Let's hope.
Yeah, it looks great, and I like the first Highlander movie, and that's it. You know.
Well, let's now see if they reboot the franchise with an actual storyline off of the first movie. That would be something. But, you know, they can't do any worse than Highlander 2 or 3.
I think if they Henry Cavill just seems to be getting sabotaged everywhere he goes. Like he just falls in love with the all the fan stuff and all the little details of everything, and you know, and then they play with it and he just gets pissed. Like The Witcher. I didn't know anything about The Witcher. I knew there was a video game. I knew there was a board game, but I didn't know anything about The Witcher until I watched the show. And first off, that show is garbage. Even the first season just sucks. It's as the equivalent of a Xena the Warrior Princess, but with actual nudity. You know, that's the level of quality of that show. But at least Xena the Warrior Princess, you knew you weren't supposed to take it serious. It's a garbage show. Even the first season sucks. But man, they just character assassinated him by the second season. I'm the kind of person I have to finish watching it because that's the way I am. But man, I'm not liking it. I'm like watching it getting angry. It's like, why am I doing this to myself? But this poor guy, everything he touches, they take. It's like he's Charlie Brown and everybody else is Lucy pulling that ball away from him. So I'm rooting for him to finally get a good not Witcher, Highlander show. I hope so. You know, he wants to do a Warhammer movie. Please, you know, just make the movie the once.
You know, it's funny, John. You just talked about not wanting to ruin a show because you have to watch the entire thing. So I remember, I think I mentioned this before, but I really screwed up my watching schedule when I stopped or I missed a couple of episodes of Millennium, and I didn't want to watch it again until I could see them all in order. And this is back in a time where, you know, it was hard to find things in order, and then I just stopped watching the entire show. I should really, if I'm going to do a lot more Fade to Blue stories, I should go back and watch Millennium. I think that would be a very good inspiration for supernatural comic book stories. Let's just say.
I remember that show. I never watched. I remember. You know what? I watched the first movie of Stargate again. You know, the original movie. Then I watched the pilot episode of the TV show. I think I'm gonna get. I never really followed it. I think I watched like a couple of episodes here and there, but I think, you know, I'm missing sci-fi. So I think I'm gonna watch Stargate again. You know, or for the first time actually. From what I saw, I really liked it, and you know, I think it ended well from what people tell me. What do you guys think? You guys watch Stargate? Did it end well? Was it good?
Well, I'll give you my 2 cents on it, John. I never watched the first Stargate television show, but I watched the second, and then what was the second? It was SGU, and then there was Atlantis, and I watched those ones, and then I liked them so much I went back and watched the original show. So it is good enough to watch. You just got to watch out for the let's just say Gnostic heresy. Because it's all about the freeing of the body from the soul and all that kind of stuff. But
Oh, okay.
it's a lot of it's science fiction, so it's like yeah, whatever. But
Yeah. Dave Bautista, that guy just gets on my nerves. He's just another actor that just shut up and act. Just shut up and act. I don't want to hear about you. You're a pro wrestler and you're an actor. It's like, knock it off. You're not that important. You know, you in the zombie apocalypse, you're what's known as food. You know, you got no skills to survive. That's my judgment. How useful are you in a zombie apocalypse? If all you could do is, you know, recite lines that other people told you, you know, can you power up a house? Can you build a shelter? Then you're food.
okay, let me ask the chat this question. If you know the answer to this, John, I will throw it out to everybody. Is there a story out there where zombie apocalypse is magical zombie apocalypse? Because you get a lot of, oh, it's scientific, or oh, heaven was closed, or they can't get into hell anymore. I wouldn't really call that as magical, but we have D&D zombies. You always think of them as magical, right? So I'm wondering, is there a story where you have a magical zombie apocalypse? That would be something.
Army of Darkness is the only one I could think of.
Army of Darkness, was that the second? Army of Darkness. What's his name? The guy from
Bruce Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a magical apocalypse because it's all comes from the Necronomicon.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
because the second movie is different. I remember not watching. I remember the poster being in the video store forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, yes. The first one is Evil Dead, right.
Okay. Evil Dead and then Evil Dead 2, which I gotta watch again because, was I taking drugs or was that movie that weird?
But it was in a different dimension, wasn't it? Or did you go back in time? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I gotta watch it again. Yeah. But I can't. 1978's Dead World was a zombie apocalypse caused by the So there was two movies that had the Necronomicon as the cause. Because what's the other one? Return of the Living Dead. That was like that military container that got loose.
Yes.
That is a great movie.
Just let anybody know. If you find a book made of human flesh, do not open it.
Yeah. And don't read it out loud. I remember an Australian zombie movie whose the plague comes from an alien invasion to clean the planet before they're. Oh, that's a great premise. Just a biological warfare, you know. That's a great premise. What's the name of that movie? That sounds good. My older brother, he's really into zombie movies. He had a shed in his backyard where all his motorcycles were, and he had just like I got my comic book room. He had a room of all Night of the Living Dead memorabilia, and he had a poster, the original poster, signed by every cast member of the show. You know, they're all. Most of them are dead now, so it's irreplaceable. And then Sandy happened, and it got destroyed. Oh God, I still cringe when I think about that poster. He went to different conventions. He got all these autographs, and now it's destroyed. You know, oh man. I don't remember the name, but the movie's great. I got to look that up. I'm sure Brian Bow knows. Brian Bow of Wolf and Batsy. He knows everything about horror movies. Dead World was the original zombie apocalypse comic book that was drawn by Vince. I remember the comic. Yeah, it was published by Arrow later, Caliber Comics. I remember one of the covers just had like a close up of like a decaying face. It was a really cool cover. Well, it's 9:50, so we got 7 more minutes. And I got to go to bed for my 12-hour day tomorrow. It's just wake up in the morning. I'm just like, oh God, 12 hours. Necronomicon was a Lovecraft story. It was a book in like Lovecraft made like a world, like he made a world and he populated with stuff. And then he used all those elements of his world in various stories. And then he encouraged other authors to use this thing. So the Necronomicon became something that everybody uses in their stories. And then some people think it's real, but it was made up by H.P. Lovecraft. You know, then other people took the name and made a Necronomicon, you know, so you could actually get it from the library. But, you know, H.P. Lovecraft made it up. What do you think of the new Midnight Marvel comic? Yeah, Marvel, did you hear about this? Marvel's going to do like a horror theme for a couple of months. Now, is it within the comics themselves, or is it going to be a separate thing? I don't know enough about it. But Marvel's got to try something. They got to
I
try.
gotta pull my eyes off of the floor because they're rolling so hard. Last time I heard anybody talk about anything in Marvel, okay, it's got to be a couple of years ago by now at least. But it was idiotic Women of Marvel podcast where they were talking about making new horror for Marvel, and they were all talking about how it should revolve around climate change because this woman, she is basically a editor cat lady. She has nieces and nephews who wake up in the middle of the night crying because the planet is going to die and they don't have any future. And I'm thinking, you people are horrible in itself. You don't need to write horror comics. Please stay away.
It's funny that in Trump's first election, one of my friends from college, he was just like, my wife is from Mexico and I have half Mexican kids, and they're terrified if Trump gets elected. They think that Trump is gonna come and grab them and kidnap them. And I was like, how old are your daughters? He was like 8 and 7. I was like, stop telling them this. I said, you're the ones telling them these lies. That's Trump's not saying that. You're filling these kids up with fear. I said, knock it off. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I didn't know who the president was or their policies. What he sit around the dinner and you scare your children. That was the last time we talked. But I could just imagine Marvel horror is going to be like, and then the Republican virus broke out and everybody became conservatives. The funny thing is like the virus bites people, and next thing you know, they want to keep a nice lawn. They turn their music down to an acceptable level. It's like, it's terrifying. There's no graffiti. Oh, the horror. Everybody parks in front of their own house. Yeah, climate change, the horror. I noticed climate change isn't so much the big deal anymore, right? Where's Greta Thunberg these days? I heard you got a boyfriend.
You know the funny thing, John? Okay, here again, stuck up here in Canada right now. You had the last, 10, 15 years of Trudeau with his just shoving climate change down everybody's throat, making sure everything had this ridiculous amount of hoops you had to run through in order to get it approved, which you never would because it's against the climate. Right now, they're tearing all of that down because the economy is so bad. It's dropped from the number one concern of voters to something like 13%, and nobody cares about it anymore. You hit people in the pocketbook and they'll flush it down the toilet.
Right, yeah. It cost me $46 to fill up my gas tank the other day. It's like Iran was 2 weeks away from the nuclear weapons. I don't care. I got to get to work. I want $2 gas. They can't hit New York. That's all I care about, right? Sorry, Israel. You're on your own. Yeah, the Daredevil show is just a giant ice screed. Yeah. So what do you think? I got to ask you, what do you think about Alberta now? Do you think they'll actually separate?
It would be a good idea, and it's a nice dream, but they're just doing the Quebec thing of threatening, and so they get more from the central government because Canada is the opposite. See, America calls itself a federation, but it's a confederation. Canada calls itself a confederation. It's actually a federation. So America, you have strong central government, but you also have strong state governments that are supposed to run their own state. In Canada, it's a strong central government that controls everything. So these places are trying to, like Alberta, leverage enough power in order for the central government to give them their fair share because they have been taken away from for the last 50, 60, 70 years minimum. Like literally, they take all of their profits and they give it to the people who don't make enough profit to actually sustain their profits. So yeah, they're just leveraging power. It's all they're doing.
Like, because I heard a judge struck their independence petition or whatever. So I'm like, oh yeah, so that's like asking your parents. The kids have all decided that we want ice cream for dinner. The parents like, you're not getting ice cream for dinner. It doesn't matter what you vote for. Is like, does Alberta have the ability to secede if it wants?
Well, I'll put it this way. No, let me say, for Quebec. Okay, for the Quebec referendum, which is in the 90s, they literally got defeated by what 0.04 percentage. If they had 0.04 more of a percentage, they would have got more than 50% of their people in Quebec actually voting for separation. Now, Quebec said, okay, that's enough. All we need is 50 plus one vote, and we will separate. But the rest of Canada was all like, no, 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 no. We're going to have our own referendum so that the entire country is going to vote on whether you can leave. And everybody else, of course, is going to say no, right? But which is really weird because, 5 years before that, or a little more than 8 years before that, you had what was it, Lithuania and Latvia trying to do the exact same thing in Russia, and Russia was saying no, 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 we're going to have a referendum in the entire Soviet Union, and we'll see if you can leave. And everybody in the international community was like, no, 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 that's not how it works. That they want to succeed, they can do so. But no, as soon as it came to Canada, it was the exact opposite.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they do leave, well, I don't think. I'm wondering if they do leave. Do you think they'll join the United States? Or
it would be the smart thing to do, but whether or not, I don't. I have family in Alberta, but how much their political alignment is with the U.S., I don't know, because it's really weird. They're very much politically aligned with the U.S., but I mean, like, I feel, but because I was born in New England, but still. A lot of the people around me here where I am now on the East Coast, they hate American government, whatever. They're more Trump strange than most people probably around you. But I feel more of a kinship with the East Coast than anything else. If, I would say the East Coast should be part of New England.
Yeah,
so I don't know if Alberta is the same way, is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I would like them to become separate. And I would like them to join the United States, but I don't want two more liberal senators. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't want a bunch of liberal congressmen. Like, I know Alberta's conservative for Canada, but is that still liberal for us?
It's really weird because if you think in American terms, you guys have had a stable government for so long. Canada has had 4 different systems of governments since it's been a place. So another one coming up, God only knows. It could be a thing fairly easily.
It just sounds so weird. The prime minister stays the prime minister until he calls an election to not be the prime minister anymore. Like, I just don't understand. My wife is Canadian. She's just like, I don't know how the rules work. It seems like like in England too. Like, you don't vote for the prime minister. You vote for like
the party.
The party, and then the party picks a prime minister based on how many they all, like, once they get elected, then they have a little mini election in the parliament for the prime minister.
Nope, they just in their party elect. They just get together in a back room and say, "Hey, guess who's going to be the new leader?"
Yeah, and it seems like, is it normal for England? It seems like they have a rotating door. Like they have a new prime minister every year.
That's because they keep on. Well, that's not normal for England, but that's because everybody keeps on stepping on a landmine and blowing themselves up. That's what's going on there.
Yeah, well, I think it's because they literally are artificially keeping these parties in power. Like I think the average California, I don't think is this. They don't want Newsom or Karen Bass. I think California's doing something shady to keep these Democrats in power. And I think the same thing is happening in England. The average person doesn't want to dilute the whole population with people on welfare from it that have nothing to do with Britain. But yet somehow these Labor Party people keep getting elected. Like Stalin said, it doesn't matter who votes. What matters is who counts the votes.
It's the idiotic thing with this kind of system. It's the fact that nobody wanted labor to actually, as far as I know, I'm listening to Carl Sargon. Nobody actually wanted labor to win as a government. They just didn't want the other people who were in power to win. So basically it was a default vote as a, basically I'm a teenager and I want my own way kind of thing, right? And the same thing happens in Canada. It's like, no, there would never be a conservative government except for the fact that people get sick of the liberals every once in a while and want to punish them. That's it.
Yeah, and well, I mean, when was the last time England they had a, with Margaret Thatcher was the last time England was important, and I want the England that has beans on toast and silly walks and guys with pork pie hats, and girls in miniskirts doing a little dance on the street and red. Yeah, that's what I want. I want the '60s England back. When I go vote, when I want to go to England so bad, and when I go there, I don't want to visit mini Pakistan. If I want that, I'll go to Pakistan. I want England that I saw on Betty Hill and Monty Python and The Prisoner and all that stuff. And it just looks so charming. I want to go up into the those little brick walls without a guy knocking the wall down. Did you see that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I'm glad that I visited Ireland in the 90s because I wouldn't want to go now.
yeah, my father went. Yeah, I don't know, but there you go, comic books, yay! So I got to go to bed. I'm having a rougher and rougher time waking up every morning.
All right, then we'll leave John be so that he doesn't electrocute himself for the first time in 40 years.
Yep,
And I will say goodnight to everybody. And don't forget, Crom the Destroyer is available on Fun My Comic along with John's multitude of books. How many you got? Two on there or three?
I got two books.
Two books.
I got one open campaign. Well, the campaign's over, but it's acting as a storefront, so you can still buy. I still got I overprinted, of course. So I'm going to be shutting it down because I'm going to be launching a store. So that store will be my permanent. My theory is I want to get a card, so when I do conventions, I can give people a card, but I don't want it to go to the Heroic Tales 2 campaign page. So it'll go to the store page and I'll just constantly update that. So I'll have a card that'll work now, 5 years from now. You know what I mean? But that's my theory. That's what I'm working on. And I'm not a computer person, so it's going real slow. Thank you, Vaz, for watching. Thank you guys for watching us every week. We appreciate it. Otherwise, it was just being me and RJ on the phone. So thanks for the chat. You guys make it fun. Thanks for all the topics.
Thanks for the super chats. Thank you very much if you guys are still here.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm terrible at YouTube. So like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, super chat options. Check me out on Rumble. I'm excited. I finally figured out how to do Rumble. So RJ, you're on Rumble right now. How's that feel? Do you feel better?
I'm an important individual.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, kids.